Video, we are going to learn how to output our files on the laser cutter from a 3D model. So in this example, you can see we have a laptop stand, and we want to get these parts into a format that we can then send to the laser cutter. This takes a few steps, so kind of pay attention. Here we go. So the first thing I want to do is cut out this top, and you can see when I click on it, you can see it's got some holes here that are cut for the joints where the legs are going to fit in there, and it's got some nice rounded corners and such. By clicking on it and selecting it, I can see its actual sketch profile. I need that sketch profile exactly as it is in order to be able to get it into Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to right click on it and say Create Sketch. Now once I create that sketch, I can actually finish the sketch. I don't need to change it at all. If you want to see what the sketch looks like though, we'll just turn off the visibility of the parts, and you can see that we have this sketch, and if I mouse over it, you can see the sketch profile there. That's exactly the shape that we want to cut out on a laser cutter. I'm going to finish my sketch and then go back into my normal sort of 3D design environment, and in the Sketches folder there should be a new sketch. I'll twirl down that disclosure triangle, and there it is, Sketch 18. That's the one I want. So I will right click on that sketch and say Save as DXF. That stands for Document Exchange Format. Now I'll give it a name, and I'm going to call it Top. And I've got a folder I already made. I put it on my desktop, and there's my laser cut example, and I just say laser cut example top, and I save. I'm going to switch over to the Finder now, and now under desktop laser cut example, I have my top. I will then open this file in Adobe Illustrator. To do this, I'm going to right click on it and say Open with Adobe Illustrator. And when I come into Adobe Illustrator, I'm going to get a dialog box. You need to set the scale of the import to 100%, and it should scale 1 to 1 unit in millimeters. Make sure you change it to millimeters. Also make sure you have set this to 100%. I will then say OK. It'll take a couple seconds to think about it, and it will render that DXF in a format that Adobe Illustrator can read. And here it is. So I now have all of the sketch lines that I need. These lines actually they're just the strokes. You can see that when I select them and I come over to the color panel, the stroke has a color, but there's no fill, which is exactly what we want, because the laser cutter will follow that stroke. It's going to follow the path. And the tool path for the laser cutter is determined by the stroke. Now, we're not quite done yet. We need to kind of get this ready to be laid out so we don't waste material. To do that, I'm going to make a new file, and I'm going to set that file to A2 size dimensions. And so I've got the A2 dimensions here. I'm going to set it up into landscape sort of mode, and I'm going to make sure that the color mode is set to RGB. And because I'm going to make an RGB document. So you can come down here into the advanced options and select color mode RGB. Mine's already set, so it should be OK. I'll click Create, and I'll create a new document. That's blank. Now the A2 size document is the biggest format that we can fit inside the laser cutter, which is why I selected it. I'll go back to my top DXF, and I'm going to use the selection tool to select all of those entities. I will then copy them. I'll just hit Command-C on the keyboard, or Control-C if you have a PC. Go back to the other document, this A2 one, and paste them in there. And you can see how much of the actual sheet of material you would use if you stuck in the top of your laptop stand. I'll move it over there to the edge of the paper or cardboard or acrylic or whatever material you're going to cut out of. And there it is. We're almost done. We now need to tell the laser cutter what to do when it encounters these lines. So this line, for example, this path is right now it's set to black. You can see it there. But the color that you actually want is a specific color. If you're going to cut something on the outside, it needs to be green. Now I've made a swatch set over here of colors, and one of those colors is RGB green. I'm going to select that color now, and you can see it's R0G green for 255. That's full power on the green, and then B is set to 0 for black. There's no black. So it's just pure RGB green, and you can see when I click away from there that it's now set that to green. Green is the color that the laser cutter uses to do outside cuts. So this cut is on the outside of the object. Now we've got 4 other objects These are inside cuts. They're cut inside the material, and we're going to change those to red because red is the color that the laser cutter interprets to do an inside cut. Why does this matter? Well, what the laser cutter will do is it will look for red lines. It'll look for these red paths, and it will cut them first. Then it will cut on the outside. That way, you cut out the red ones on the inside, and they might move around a bit while the laser cutter's moving around and jiggling a bit. And if you cut them out first, they won't be moved out of position by mistake, and which could happen if you cut the green lines first, for example. So, red for inside cuts, green for outside cuts, and there you have it. Obviously, you would fill up the rest of this document with other things that you would want to cut out, but if this is how you want your file to be cut, then it's ready to be saved, and all you have to do is say File, Save As, and you can then save this as a PDF, and come down here and just say Adobe PDF, give it a name. I'll call it Laser Cut Me, and then I'm going to save that file. This is the file that you would send off for laser cutting to the workshop. You would probably share it with our technician, Kunjut. So there it is. I'm going to set the Illustrator default Adobe preset for PDF. That's fine. And I'll say Save PDF. And once that file is saved, we're done. And you would email that file or otherwise share it with the technician, and you would be ready to go. So I hope you do lots and lots of laser cutting. That's how we do it.